Hi everybody, happy Monday. This week we are talking about what to do if your dog seems to elicit negative responses from other dogs, especially when out on walks. So if you've got a dog who's afraid of other dogs and it seems like a lot of other dogs bark and lunge at your dog, we'll talk about how at least one way to help decrease that and make walks a little more pleasant for your dog. All right, jumping right in. Why do dogs hate my dog? Some ways to reduce barking at your dog on walks. All right, who is this for? This is for you if other dogs seem to often bark or lunge at your dog when you're out on walks, and those reactions scare your dog. A lot of you in our audience have sensitive or fearful dogs, and you really don't need anything extra to challenge your dog out on walks. It's hard enough. You do need your dog to be able to eat treats out on walks or play with toys. If your dog is unable in general to take treats when they're out on walks, then there's a good chance they really shouldn't be going on walks, or at least not walking in the environment in which you're currently walking them. So just something to keep in mind. But for today's training tips, your dog will need to be able to take food or play with toys. Now, why do dogs bark and lunge at some dogs but not others? There are lots of reasons. There are probably as many reasons as there are dogs who experience this issue. But some common triggers for one dog to bark or lunge at another dog to make it more likely for a dog to react negatively to your dog, for instance, include their appearance in terms of their size, their breed, their color, coat color, what kind of movement they're doing. Often dogs that are moving more quickly or more active are more likely to be barked at by other dogs. The direction of movement. So if you're head on approaching another dog or following behind another dog, those are two scenarios in which other dogs may feel a little uncomfortable and be more likely to bark at your dog. How close you are to another dog and for how long. So if you are in view of another dog for a long time, and if you're closer to them, the other dog might be more likely to bark at your dog. And finally, if your dog is staring at the other dog or barking at them, that also can increase the chances that that other dog is going to react negatively and bark and lunge at your dog. So you can see some of these are within your control and some aren't. Today we're going to focus on staring and how to decrease your dog staring at other dogs, because this is a big one, a big trigger for other dogs to start to get uncomfortable and eventually bark or lunge at your dog. So how can we reduce staring at other dogs? The number one strategy is to pull over and do a treat scatter. So pull over, I just mean, stop, get a little distance perhaps as the other dog goes by, and scatter some treats in the grass. This gets your dog looking down and not staring at the other dog. And I'll show you a video of this in a second. A second strategy that can work well, especially if you can't or don't want to stop, is to use a treat magnet. So have some treats in your hand or have a tube of treats, something like that, and have it right at your dog's nose and be letting them nibble or lick at treats while you quickly move past. So it's often called a treat magnet because the goal is to keep your dog's nose and mouth glued to that treat, like they're magnetized, sort of, and just keep moving until you get farther away from the other dog. This also keeps them from, of course, staring at the other dog. And finally, treat bowling is another good option if you're trying to get your dog to quickly move past another dog without staring at them. And this involves, it's kind of what it sounds like. It's an underhanded rolling or tossing of a treat ahead of your dog so that they chase that treat and keep moving instead of stopping and staring at the other dog who might bark at them. So let's take a look at these strategies in action. All right, option number one for stopping your dog from staring at another dog is that treat scatter. So here, if you can see, there's a person with a dog walking across the street from Melissa and her dog in the foreground here. And she's going to just scatter some treats on the ground away from the other dog. So her dog turns and looks away. So that's one way to stop your dog from staring. Here's that treat magnet. Here Melissa was feeding from her hand continuously, and here she's feeding from a can of Easy Cheese. And finally, treat bowling. So it's that underhanded toss to keep the dog moving and get their head down instead of staring at another dog. Okay, so again, one big strategy for reducing the frequency with which other dogs out on walks bark or lunge at your dog is to get them to stop staring. Get your dog to stop staring at other dogs. And the 3 strategies I showed you today are treat scatters on the ground, the treat magnet, where your dog is following a treat in your hand, or treat bowling, so having your dog chase down a treat instead of staring at the other dog. Okay, I hope these strategies help. If you are looking to get notified of our training tips that we put out every week, you can go ahead to this link at the bottom here, dogkindtraining.com/newsletter. And if you sign up, you'll be getting a notification each week via email and a link to our new training tips. And of course, notifications of any new offerings we have, new classes, or any discounts and deals. All right, everyone, thank you so much. Have a lovely week. I'll see you next week.